Have you ever really stopped to think about how love can actually build things? Well, today, we're going to explore this incredible idea called the bridge love built. It's a story all about what can separate us and the amazing gift that brings us back together. You know that feeling, right? That awkward space that can show up between you and a friend, maybe after a disagreement or just when you start to drift apart. That feeling of a gap is exactly what we're talking about, but on a way, way bigger scale. So the story we're diving into today talks about a gap that's even bigger than that. It's not just between two people, but this huge empty space that separates people from God, making them feel super distant and alone. All right, so let's get into part one and really understand this. What on earth created this giant gap to begin with? And honestly, why does it matter so much? The source we're looking at calls because of this separation sin. And really, a simple way to think about it is all the choices we make to go our own way instead of God's way. Each one of those choices is like, adding another bit of distance, making that gap wider and wider until it feels totally impossible to cross by ourselves. But here's the good news. The story doesn't end with us stuck on one side of a giant canyon. In part two, we find out that God never, ever wanted us to be separated from him. He already had a plan, a loving plan, to build a way back. And check this out. This is probably the most incredible part of the whole thing. The plan didn't start because we were trying really hard to get back to God. Nope. The story makes it super clear. The whole idea for the bridge, the very first step, it all started with God's love for us. And here's the rest of that verse. See, God's love wasn't just some nice feeling. It was an action. He sent his son. And that big word, propitiation, it's just a fancy way of saying that Jesus was the perfect solution, the one thing that could completely fix the gap that our choices had made. So this is the heart of it all, right here. Jesus is the bridge. He isn't just someone who shows us the bridge. He is the way across. The one and only way for us to get over that impossible gap and back to God. So you might be wondering, what's a bridge like that even made of? Well, it's totally unique. Think about it. On one side, Jesus is fully God, so he's strong enough to reach all the way to heaven. But on the other side, he became fully human, reaching right down to where we are to connect with us. He's the only one who could ever touch both sides at the exact same time. Okay, so if this bridge is so special and one of a kind, you've got to ask, what did it cost? This wasn't something you could just whip up. No, this was an incredible, priceless gift. Its value is, well, it's almost impossible to even wrap your head around. This quote from the devotional really puts it into perspective. It couldn't have been just any solution. God gave the only gift that was powerful enough and valuable enough to actually work. Anything less than his very own son just wouldn't have been enough to span that gap. Just pause and think about that for a second. God didn't hold anything back. The devotional gives us this image of God pouring out every single treasure of heaven into one single massive gift, his son. He gave it all. There was literally nothing left to give. Wow. So after a gift like that, what could possibly come next? Well, this last part of our story is all about how we can respond to such an incredible act of love. It makes sense, right? Because God gave everything he had for us. He invites us to give our everything back to him. This isn't about just giving him Sunday mornings or a tiny piece of our lives. It's an invitation to a real relationship that includes every single part of who we are. So what does giving our all even look like? The text breaks it down so perfectly. It means loving God with our whole heart, all of our feelings and emotions, with our whole soul, like the very core of who you are, with our whole mind, all our thoughts, and with our whole strength, everything we do with our bodies, the whole shebang. And here's the real key to remember. Deciding to cross that bridge isn't the finish line, not at all. It's the starting line. It's the beginning of a brand new journey, a daily walk where we are finally, truly connected with God. And this story gives us this beautiful peek into where that journey leads. It paints this picture of a future where Jesus himself leads everyone who chose to cross the bridge, and he brings them home, right to the Father. It's a place where that gap is just gone, forever. So at the end of the day, this isn't just a nice story. It's a personal invitation. A bridge was built out of pure, unconditional love, and it reaches all the way to you, right where you are. The only question left to ask is, how will you choose to cross it?